The Empire sent the 12 assassins on a Thursday, which I remember clearly because Thursdays are when I calibrate the long-range threat prediction arrays. I dislike interruptions during calibration. Precision matters. Focus matters. And yet, standing on the command deck of the Imperial observation platform above Sol 3, I watched 12 matte black insertion coffins slide into launch position, each containing one shadow executor. 12 for one human. My designation is Archivist Kethervo. I have served the Empire for 9 cycles, long enough to know when leadership mistakes arrogance for confidence. Humans had been classified as a developing species, violent, creative, but strategically primitive. Dangerous in theory, manageable in practice. The human in question, Elias Rowan, had been labeled an anomaly, former planetary defense tactician now retired, residing alone in a mountainous region the locals called Alaska. Remote. Cold. Quiet. Too quiet. This is unnecessary, I said, unable to restrain myself. 1 executor would suffice. Perhaps 2. Commander Vailrix did not look away from the tactical display. Rowan has interfered with 3 extraction operations and erased 2 covert listening posts. He cost us assets. Assets can be replaced. Authority cannot, Vailrix replied. His voice carried the certainty of someone who had never personally paid the price for being wrong. The shadow executors do not fail. That should have been my first warning. Each assassin was a master of silent elimination, trained since early maturity in layered combat disciplines, infiltration theory, and adaptive lethality. Individually, they were terrifying. Together, they were meant to be inevitable. Their pods launched without sound, without thermal signature, slipping toward the planet like falling thoughts. The plan was flawless. Synchronized landings, concentric approach vectors, termination during the human sleep cycle. I returned to my calibration console. Humans, after all, slept. 3 hours later, the first anomaly appeared. Archivist, said Technician Sorrell, her frills paling. Executor Team 1's biometric feeds have gone inactive. Interference. Vailrix asked. Negative. Total flatline. All 3. Within 30 seconds. Silence spread across the deck. Continue monitoring, Vailrix ordered. Shadow protocol allows for signal darkness. Another hour passed. Then another. Team 2 vanished. Then Team 3. By the time local dawn touched the planet's surface, 9 of the 12 assassins were gone. Vailrix stood slowly, mandibles tightening. Bring up orbital visual. The satellite feed resolved moments later. The human's residence stood intact, wooden, unfortified, unimpressive. Snow rested peacefully on its roof. And there, seated on the front steps, was Elias Rowan. He looked up and smiled. Commander Vailrix said nothing at first. He simply stared at the image of the human sitting on his steps, calm as a statue carved from confidence. Elias Rowan raised one gloved hand and gave a slow, deliberate wave directly at the orbital camera. The gesture was unmistakably intentional. Enhance, Vailrix ordered. The image zoomed. That was when we saw the bodies. 12 forms lay arranged in a wide circle around the cabin, each clad in shadow executor combat armor. Each motionless. Each precisely positioned. Snow had been carefully brushed away from their visors, revealing lifeless eyes frozen in expressions of shock, confusion, or, most disturbingly, recognition. They're organized, Technician Sorrell whispered. She was right. The first 3 lay near the eastern treeline, exactly where their pods would have landed. The next 3 were positioned along the northern ridge. Then west. Then south. The final cluster rested closest to the structure itself. Rowan hadn't merely killed them. He had mapped our strategy in corpses. He knew, I said quietly. He knew the approach vectors. Impossible, Vailrix snapped. The operation was encrypted at Imperial Depth 7. And yet, I replied, gesturing at the screen, there sits a living human surrounded by 12 dead legends. As if on cue, Rowan stood. He walked toward the nearest body, crouched, and removed something from its grasp. When he held it up toward the satellite, the camera autofocused. A shadow executor blade. Imperial issue. Etched along the flat of the metal were words in flawless Imperial script. Send more next time. Vailrix recoiled as if struck. Rowan moved methodically, collecting an item from each corpse, weapon, comm unit, armor plate. 12 trophies. He placed them in a neat pile at the center of his porch, stepped back inside and closed the door. 30 seconds passed. Then the pile erupted in a flash of blue-white light, not an explosion but a transmission surge. Data streamed directly into our systems, bypassing security layers that should have been inviolable. What is he sending us? Sorrel asked. The file resolved automatically. A video began to play. Rowan sat indoors now, relaxed in a chair beside a fireplace. He held a ceramic mug in both hands, steam curling upward. His expression was calm. Not triumphant. Not angry. Commander Veilrix, he said, pronouncing the name perfectly. You should really stop sending people to kill me in my sleep. I don't sleep much. The feed cut briefly, then resumed, showing night vision footage. Executor Team 1. Moving through trees. A flash. Silence. Claymore Mines, Rowan's voice narrated. Old tech. Still works. More footage. Energy grids flaring. Pit traps opening. Plasma spikes. One by one. All 12, Rowan continued softly. I let this happen because you needed a lesson. The video ended. The command deck was silent. For the first time in my career, I realized the Empire had not failed in operation. We had issued an invitation. Emergency protocol seized the station within minutes. Priority signals rippled outward, summoning admirals, analysts, and political overseers who had not expected to wake to catastrophe. The transmission from Rowan spread faster than containment algorithms could react. It reached fleet commands, intelligence bureaus, and eventually the Imperial Senate itself. By the time countermeasures were proposed, it was already too late. Grand Strategist Malrex arrived 6 hours later, his presence alone silencing the command deck. He had overseen the pacification of 12 systems and had never once raised his voice to be heard. He did not need to. Explain, Malrex said, settling into the central chair. Explain how a single human dismantled 12 shadow executors. Veilrix attempted to speak. Failed. I stepped forward. Sir, I began carefully, our assessment of humanity was fundamentally flawed. Rowan is not an outlier. He is a product. Malrex's eyes narrowed. Clarify. We had already begun deep analysis. What emerged unsettled every assumption we held. Rowan had not acted alone. His residence was merely the visible node of a concealed defensive network constructed over decades. Sensor arrays disguised as civilian equipment. Weapon platforms buried beneath geological strata. Automated systems operating independently of human presence. Human technology was not crude. It was subtle. Our records show Rowan served in multiple planetary conflicts, I continued. Wars fought not against aliens, but against other humans. They refined doctrine through internal survival. Malrex was still. Further data scrolled across the displays. Hidden shipyards within asteroid belts. Civilian cargo vessels concealing weapon hardpoints. Encrypted communication webs routed through innocuous entertainment broadcasts. A shadow organization surfaced repeatedly across intercepted fragments. Homeworld Defense Compact. Budget estimates reached figures that made even seasoned quartermasters go pale. How many agents? Malrex asked. Conservative estimate, said analyst Rin. Several thousand embedded beyond their system. We had fewer than 20 on Earth. And now? None, Rin replied. They were identified and contacted simultaneously. Given 24 hours to depart. Malrex exhaled slowly. And Rowan allowed them to leave. Yes, sir. Silence returned, heavier than before. He could have erased them, Veilrix said quietly. He chose not to, I replied. That distinction matters. Malrex rose and approached the main display, where Earth rotated serenely in false peace. This is not a species preparing for conquest, he said. This is a species preparing to survive. A new transmission alert sounded. Priority, human origin secure channel. The screen shifted. Rowan appeared again, standing outside his home, snow drifting lazily around him. This isn't a threat, Rowan said calmly. It's a boundary. Cross it again and I won't send pieces back next time. The channel closed. Malrex turned to us. Prepare diplomatic overtures, he said. Immediately. For the first time in recorded Imperial history, humanity had forced us to reconsider expansion. Not through war but through restraint backed by terrifying competence. And I understood then what frightened me most. They had been ready long before we ever noticed them. Formal contact was established 3 days later. Not through ambassadors or ceremonial fleets, but through a single encrypted channel routed directly to the human's residence. I was present as archival witness, a role I never expected would place me at the edge of history. The image resolved to the same cabin. The same snow. The same man. Elias Rowan sat at a plain wooden table, hands folded, posture relaxed. There was no weapon in sight. He did not bother to smile. Grand Strategist Malrex inclined his head. You have made your point, human Elias Rowan. The Empire proposes a cessation of hostilities. All covert operations against Earth will cease. Surveillance will be withdrawn. Your world will be left undisturbed. Rowan leaned back slightly. That's a start. In return, Malrex continued, you will refrain from retaliatory actions against Imperial assets or personnel. Rowan considered this for a moment. I already have, he said calmly. You sent 12 assassins. I stopped them. You sent spies. I told them to leave. I haven't struck anything that wasn't aimed directly at me. Pause. I don't want war, Rowan went on. I don't want your territory. I don't want your technology. I want distance. Respect it. Malrex studied him. And if another faction within the Empire acts without authorization? Then I'll respond, Rowan said evenly. Proportionally. Precisely. And publicly. I'd rather not embarrass you again. The threat was understated. That made it worse. There is one condition, Rowan added. Your assassins followed orders. Bad ones. Their families deserve truth and honor. No deniability. No erasure. Malrex nodded once. It will be done. The channel closed shortly thereafter. In the weeks that followed, the Empire quietly retreated. Listening arrays were dismantled. Trade pressure dissolved. Border fleets were reassigned. Official reports framed the incident as a miscalculation. Unofficially, every strategist began rewriting doctrine. Earth joined the Galactic Council 6 months later. Their delegation was small, unassuming. Rowan attended as an advisor, wearing a simple suit, saying little. When he passed Malrex in the assembly hall, they exchanged nods. Nothing more. No threats. No apologies. Understanding. As for Commander Veilrix, he was reassigned to a logistics post far from any decisions of consequence. The 12 shadow executors were given full honors. Their names entered into the record of service. I returned to my archives. Yet now, when I review Earth's profile, I no longer see a developing world. I see a civilization that mastered patience as a weapon, restraint as strategy, and preparation as survival. They did not conquer us. They taught us a lesson. And if the Empire is wise, it will remember the meaning of those scattered pieces sent back from the snow. They were not a warning of human violence. They were proof of human control. And next time I suspect there will be no pieces at all.